When I worked at Streetwise in Chicago on the 35th anniversary of Martin Luther King's visit to Chicago, I wrote a story that won an award from the Chicago Association for Black Journalists. It didn't matter that I didn't fit the demographic profile, it was the story. And the story started with a recounting of how the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. met a rabbi who was from Poland named Abraham Heschel at a conference in Alabama. It was a spiritual affair. What had happened is that each of them, independent of each other, were discussing matters related to justice, and they quoted the same verse from the book of Amos. Now, the ironic thing is, something very ominous must have happened when they actually met, because certainly they knew that the verses following what they each quoted were very prophetic in an understanding that they quoted the verse they did at the same time, and then they met. Now, at the time I wrote this article, I didn't know of that. I did not have the experience to make that connection. But what I did know was enough to recount what was at that time the history of Chicago and the history of movements for justice in this country. And it is not possible for me to discuss racial justice. And it is not possible for me to conceive of anything concerning civil rights without my primary reference point being the spiritual fraternity, the divine dimension that Abraham Heschel and Martin Luther King Jr. inhabited together. You take one away, you commit a grave spiritual affront. It is not possible for me to hear you, to see you, defame and defile my divine dimension by trying to render a essential component of it invisible or obsolete for political convenience. There's nothing convenient about justice. That's what makes it just. It's right. It's righteous. Convenience is for, I don't know. It does not exist. Your movement for racial justice does not exist as long as you allow for the invisibilization of the divine dimension in which it emanates, from which it comes. And that dimension does not exist when you tell somebody they have to keep quiet about their brother, that they have to cast him aside, that it is more convenient for the political moment, for that history and that legacy to be repurposed. Abraham Heschel had several sisters. All of them died at the hands of the Nazis. He was the only one to escape. When he came to the United States, something about his agony let him see himself in black faces and black bodies. You had no right to turn my brothers into a finance scam for charlatans that can't even tell the truth about their political constituencies. I would never have taken an order from Barack Obama. I would never take an order from Bill Clinton, from Hillary Clinton. I would never take an order from Joe Biden. I would never take an order from Kamala Harris. And I would never take an order from or with anyone that would say that my brothers would have to part from each other and one of them would have to be cast into obsolescence to promote a completely abject and bankrupt political opportunism. You will not succeed. It cannot succeed. You told the wrong history. It was the wrong history. Those who know the past control the future. Those who own the present now control the past. You're not here with me. You don't talk to me. You don't look at me. You steal from me. You rob your own inheritance. You've destroyed and desecrated the divine dimension. Rabbi Heschel said, the divine dimension does not exist until we are ready for it. I was ready for it. We were there together. But it was violently infiltrated and taken over by people who did not belong there. They destroyed it. And that is why I don't see you. Justice doesn't exist. Justice and charity were like brothers. You cut off one for political convenience, you lose the other. And that's exactly what's happened.